I was a consultant and coach for most of that time. Now more of a keynote speaker on stage for offsites. I felt that it didn't look professional.
Not respectable enough, right?
Not respectable,
yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand, even though I don't, but I understand.
So I had a LinkedIn profile, which kind of looked like Grant Bosnick, the keynote speaker, the consultant, and then another Facebook page was Grant Bosnick, the musician, and treated them totally separate, right?
They call it bipolar. Hi, I'm Yana and you're watching Yana TV. Today our guest is Grant Upbeat, Neuroscience and drumming. I love this, right? So I'm like, my hand immediately goes here.
Yeah. It's definitely drums within reaching distance. And who doesn't want to reach out for drums when they're there,
I
right?
know. And we're going to explain today why the drums are even in the studio. However, what I would like to start with, the fact that you have another interesting part. You are actually the only one in Singapore I know who is Croatian Canadian.
Right. So I was born in Canada, in Toronto, Canada, near Toronto, which is the largest city of Canada. And I went to high school and university in Canada. And before moving out to Asia 25 years ago to Japan and now Singapore. And so the fact is that my grandfather is Croatian, my father is Croatian. I'm second generation Canadian. So my grandfather emigrated to Canada and my father was born there, 100% Croatian. And then on my mother's side is half French and half Scottish. But my father's family is really, really quite big. So there's 10 brothers and sisters. About my generation, about 20, 23 of my generation, and then next generation down several more. And it's a really close family. So that's why I identified much more with the Croatian side, so probably Croatian Canadian.
I would love to visit those family reunions next time. Not that I'm inviting myself by any means.
Well, and even my name, my family name is Croatian and my first name is Scottish. So Grant Bosnick, I'm actually the only one on the planet with that combination. And then there's Grant Upbeat Bosnick, which of course
definitely makes you the only one. Japan, right? Since we are in Asia and we're talking about Asian context here. So here you are, grew up in Canada with your very colorful background. And Japan, 17 years. What did you do there?
Yeah, so I moved to Japan. So I have a total of 25 years I've been in Asia, 17 in Japan, 8 here. So 25 years ago now, I moved to Japan. And there were, people always ask me, Grant, why'd you move to Japan? So I had to come up with a clear answer. So the first answer was because I like sushi. And that was
this is the best answer.
It was meant to make people laugh, and Japanese people do find it funny. It's like, because I like sushi. But, I think it is important. You like the food of the country you go to, first of all. And one of the reasons was I studied philosophy in university. And my university is very conservative and traditional, well-known university in Canada. And they didn't really consider Asian philosophy to be part of philosophy. So there was one Asian philosophy course only out of the entire Western philosophy that we had multiple courses on. So I wanted to learn more about Asian philosophy. So that was one reason to come to Asia. And then I'm also a musician. And I used to be pro musician in Canada, touring and recording 13 albums and producing several events. And so Japan at that time was the second largest music industry. I wanted to learn more about Japanese music and I produced events out there as well too, and recorded and played out there in Japan. And I guess there was a third reason too, was that because I do leadership development with leaders and teams with hundreds, Fortune 500 and FTSE 100 clients globally, that when I was in Japan, I was fascinated to see how did they create this business mindset in Japan to grow to become the second biggest economy in the world in 50 years. Right? And I remember when I was in high school, I kind of went to a special high school that had a lot of business courses. And we had this movie or documentary that we saw. It was called America's Game, Japanese Rules. And it was using the metaphor of baseball to show the difference between Japanese and American business, which was quite fascinating. And so I was quite interested to learn more about what is the Japanese business mindset, and which is 17 years onward. That's what kept me there, those three things there. Actually, a great story about philosophy.
Tell me.
Can I tell you this, right? I just remembered this. It was like probably my second year of being in Japan. I was living in Tokyo, but I went down to Kyoto. And so there's this pathway which leads up to one of the temples. Kinkakuji is the name of the temple. And the name of the pathway is called Tetsugaku no Michi, which translates to English as Philosopher's Path. So having studied philosophy, right, I was so excited to take this path. And so the first 1/3 of my journey up this path, I was really excited. This is going to be really deep and meaningful. And then after about 1/3, I got so disappointed because I could see houses around me. There was nothing special about this path. It was a path like any other path you'll find on this planet, right? So I was so disappointed for the next, that second third of my trip. And then when I got 2/3 into the journey, I got so excited again. It was like an enlightening moment. I just realized, yes, this path is like any other path in the world, but every path is a philosopher's path, right? So that was my key takeaway from that adventure up, Tetsugaku no Michi in Kyoto. It's like every path is a philosopher's path. We're always on that journey everywhere we go.
I feel like we can finish the interview right here. You just said it. The main topic. I love it. I love it. Okay, so Japan. Yeah. How was 17 years in Japan not being Japanese?
Well, I was Croatian Canadian, but I didn't really, promote myself based on my ethnic cultural background, but more around, I was, an extrovert. I was a drummer, and so. There's quite a history of original music out of Japan, so really connected with that in the combining music and nature.
Any difficulties integrating as a foreigner, as an expatriate, because that's what you have been there for 17 years?
Yeah, the language, if you don't speak the language perfectly fluent, some people may say they don't understand you, even though they probably actually do understand you, but if they're kind of...
So you speak fluent enough Japanese?
I speak.
I speak.
Yeah. Is it fluent enough for someone who wants it perfectly fluent to say, I don't understand you? Maybe. I do skip some words sometimes, So people do, nantonaku wakaru, which for the Japanese fans out there or the Japanese listeners, they will know that means...
I don't.
Yeah, it means, more or less I understand, which is one of the things I really liked about Japanese culture. Coming from a Western culture, we question the meaning of every single word that we say, and that's the low context cultures, which like English-speaking cultures, for example.
And Japanese?
Japanese is a high context culture. So if you more or less understand within the given situation that you're in, that's enough, right?
Well, that's my realization.
Yeah.
I like that. I have been living in Asia now since 2008, and I have Asian family, and I work with a lot of Asians. And actually, what you said just now, I think to me, summarizes in general the biggest difference between East and West when it comes to communication.
Yeah. And there's a lot of the Asian countries, they each have their own high context culture, but the one that's in China, the one that's in Korea, the ones in Japan, the ones in Singapore, the one that's in other parts of Southeast Asia, not all of them are the same. There are quite a few, 10 countries in ASEAN, for example, that that each of us or each of these countries has their own uniqueness, and they may have their own high context. But if you understand that context, and even if you don't perfectly speak the language, and people can understand.
Love that. So what brought you to Singapore?
So I originally came, when I was living in Japan, I was coming here maybe 3 or 4 times a year for business trips to work with clients. And then 9 years ago, I decided to set up my own company. And so I just chose Singapore as the location to set up the company, incorporate here. The main reason was that 75% of the foreign multinational companies have their regional offices based out of Singapore, so can have FaceTime with them. And then that was one of the reasons. And then, as you said, another reason, it was like, I used to help people with presentation skills at one point in my life. And I was always looking for a great example of an Asian person who is a great speaker.
Lee Kuan Yew.
Lee Kuan Yew, right. Yeah. Because a lot of the examples people give in other presentation courses, you've got Steve Jobs and you've got, Barack Obama.
Barack Obama, right, exactly.
Clinton. Very few Asian examples that people would come up with. So, the first time I saw Lee Kuan Yew speak, I thought, this is not just the content and his conviction, he's a great speaker. So that was one of the things. And then I did a project with FairPrice last year, and FairPrice just celebrated 50 years as well, too. There was a book published, a documentary, a book about the history of FairPrice called The Price of Being Fair. And it's fantastic to learn about the history of NTUC and the history of the government and how they work together to create what became now Fair Price Group and being some secure food for the people of Singapore. So that inflation didn't skyrocket, so that greedy people didn't charge more than they were allowed to, for example, here. And then in 50 years, I'm a PR here as well too. So we decided last year to go to National Museum of Singapore on National Day to learn more about the history of this great country. So 50 years of 50 plus years, and then 50 years of Fair Price and Lee Kuan Yew, and it was like as they said, 50 years to learn what did Singapore do to get to this level, and it was fascinating.
Right. When you arrived here, what was your first impression?
My first impression of Singapore when I first arrived here, I found that because I was connecting also in the music scene here, and having come from Japan, where probably about 30% independent music, lots of original music from J-pop, J-rock, and then when I come to Singapore and very little original music here. It took me a while to figure out and to find out from people who are in the music industry here why this might happen. There's a little bit more of a risk-averse culture. It was an interesting approach to learn about the people, by what is it that is popular musically. And one of the things that a lot of the venues were mercantile profit driven. So whatever is going to bring in the most amount of revenue is going to be the choice of business model, right? So if you got, cover bands making requests, or you got techno or house DJs playing pretty safe music, you're going to get a lot of people, and it's going to be quite popular. There are people doing things out there, so it is changing,
Okay.
So yeah, there are some people doing original music out there. There's a lot of original dance coming out of Singapore. So there's some great artists that are, doing things. So, slowly it's moving up into,
And here yourself, you have been a professional musician for many years, but also while you were staying in Japan, right?
Yeah.
So here you come to Singapore and you changed the industry. What happened, Grant?
I actually spent 20 years of my professional life hiding the fact that I play drums.
And why would you do that?
I was a consultant and coach for most of that time. Now more of a keynote speaker on stage for offsites. I felt that it didn't look professional.
Not respectable enough, right?
Not respectful,
yes.
Yeah.
I understand, even though I don't, but I understand.
So I had a LinkedIn profile, which kind of looked like Grant Bosnick, the keynote speaker, the consultant, and then another Facebook page was this Grant Bosnick, the musician, and created them totally separate, right?
They call it bipolar.
But then it was during COVID times that I decided to bring it out. So just like the drums are here in the back of the camera here right now, that I had the bongos behind me in my camera to show a little bit about me, who I am. Now, this was influenced by the CEO of IBM, Arvind Krishna. So at the time when everybody at IBM was working from home, he took the entire company on a town hall tour of his house, his living room, kitchen, the dining room, the children, the pets, and everybody else in the house, and to show that he's human. So I thought, that's a great idea. So I'm going to put my bongos behind me to show in the camera during COVID times that I'm also a drummer. And it became a talking piece, even with clients.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Nobody's got bongos. Grant, why you got bongos behind you? Oh, let me tell you. And then eventually my name became Grant Upbeat Bosnick. And I've actually now got a registered trademark for Upbeat, which is using the science of drumming to enhance people's thinking. And it joins the right and left hemispheres together because the right and left hemispheres vibrate at different frequencies. So by the drum patterns that I've created for Upbeat, and we're going to do some later too.
Well, I'm excited now.
We're going to do some too, right? The drum patterns help to, make a faster transfer of information so we get more aha moments. I wrote this book here, which is published last year, Tailored Approaches to Self-Leadership, a bite-sized approach using psychology and neuroscience, and Marshall Goldsmith did the foreword for that. So there's a lot of tips in there as well too about how we can use neuroscience to help us to, in our daily life, live a more effective life, be happier, achieve more as a result of that.
I still would love to hear a few tips right here today on camera. Could you be so generous to share with us, please?
Some tips, okay. All right. Since the drums are here, we're not going to actually play the drums, but I'll play on our laps because everybody's got a lap. So all of you that are watching right now as well, too, you can do this with us. So it's very simple what we're going to do. It's called 8 on each hand. So we'll do 8 strokes with the right hand, then 8 with the left hand, then 8 with the right, and we'll go back and forth. So I'll demonstrate it first.
Yes, please.
And then we'll all do it together. So it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, left, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right, 2. And so, okay, so we'll all do it together.
I'm doing
so all of you,
it.
I'll count it in. I'll count it in for everybody you come in with too. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and left, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, left, 2, 3, 4, faster, 7, 8, right, left, faster, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, left, 2, right, left, right, or slow down, 7, 8, and left, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right, 2, faster, 5, 6, 7, 8, and left, 2, right, 5, 6, 7, 8, left, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, right, 2, left, right, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and left, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Great. Fantastic. Here, great job, everybody that's out there drumming with us. Rewind that, do it again, too. See, what this does is it helps us to prime our brain to be more focused and have higher concentration. So that's the first step of Upbeat. Because Upbeat is really helping people get into a heightened state. So the first step is to get them higher level of attention, higher level of focus.
Well, you definitely got my attention.
So that's what that exercise is. That's the first one I do it. I use Upbeat at offsites with clients and blend it in to help them to have more higher level of thinking and more alignment as well too, once we get into dividing the parts among people as well too later. Yeah.
Okay, so we did this. You got my attention. Give me the tip.
Another tip.
Give me something which will make me better at my own self-leadership.
So I'll give you this one other technique as well. And this is something that people can do anytime before a meeting or before a presentation, to help us to get our mind. Shiraz Carmen was the one who originally first coined this phrase of the PQ reps, positive intelligence quotient reps. Imagine going to the gym. We do different reps for our physical body. So these are small physical things that we can do where we focus on one sense at a time, which helps to build the mental building blocks in our brain.
Okay.
So the first one, we can do it together, is you take your index finger and your thumb and just start making circles with them, whichever direction you want to do, whichever direction feels comfortable for you, first of all. And by focusing on this one sense of touch, and now reverse the direction of it. And it may be a different feeling and sensation in your brain. By focusing on the sense of touch, it helps us then to build this mental muscle or this focus and concentration that we're going to build in our brain. All right? Okay, so that's one we can do. So that's using the sense of touch. Now, if everybody close your eyes, right now, close your eyes, and you're going to focus on the sense of hearing. So right now, listen to the ambient sounds in the room. So this could be the sound of the air conditioning. Maybe there's a hum in the lighting that's in the room that you're in. If you got the window open, maybe there's an ambient sound of wind blowing. So whatever that ambient sound is, focus your mind on that. Now focus your mind on the sound that is the farthest away. So maybe there's a car outside or a dog barking. Whatever that farthest sound is. Now focus your attention to the closest sound. And maybe that's the sound of your own breath, breathing. And so you can open your eyes now. So that's one thing that we can do as well too, by changing the focus of our attention. And all of these exercises, so like going to the gym to work your physical muscle, helps build the mental muscle, which is the building block for us to do all the higher level, getting our brain into flow so we can 5x our productivity, having aha moments so ideas connect together, helping us to regulate our emotions, helping us to show up with the kind of presence that we want to show up with to our team, to our audience. So all of these are helping to build that mental building blocks. The last one around is emotion regulation here. So I want everybody right now to imagine, and Yana, imagine right now for us, everybody out there listening as well, imagine you're going for a hike right now. And I'm from Canada, we call it the woods. That's the forest, or maybe it's on a mountain, depending on which country you're from. Imagine it's 26 degrees, it's dry, the sun is shining, the birds are singing, the flowers smell nice, and
wow.
This bear comes in your face. So how does it make you feel? The bear comes in your face.
Shocked.
Shocked, right? we feel shocked. We
yes,
feel
I was expecting more butterflies.
because of fear, right? Maybe our hair stands up,
Yes.
and maybe our blood starts to rush, and we
Yes, the blood
sweat.
starts to rush, exactly.
So we physically feel it before our brain even knows what happens. And it's the same thing whenever we face any kind of change or challenge in our own social or emotional life, whether that could be something that's, personal with a loved one, or maybe it's something in business related to, you have a disagreement with your boss or your colleague or something, why this person, so frustrating,
The boss is the bear.
Right? The boss is the bear, right? So it could be something traumatic or it could be something small as well too, right? So one of the things I like to do, and I wrote a lot about it in this book here, is if we can tap into some of the creative ways of thinking to help us to reframe our situation, it helps us to, number one, to get new ideas that we didn't think of. If we analyze the problem too deeply, why is my boss like this?
Like a bear.
Right. You're only tapping into the front part, your prefrontal cortex, and it's so strong, the signals there, you're not going to get any new ideas. Right? So we want to tap into the weaker one. So you can come up with some creative questions. If you go to the world of fictional characters, it's like, well, how would Mickey Mouse deal with this situation? Or Harry Potter, or Captain Kirk, or whoever you want to imagine, in that situation, what would they do if they were in that situation, for example? Or maybe if you imagine it like a newspaper headline. If this were like a motto or a saying or on the newspaper headline, what would that read? So you use these creative techniques to help get new ideas formed because you're tapping into the weaker signals in your brain. So you get these aha moments, right? And I think that, if we can reframe our situation in a much more effective way.
I love that. I would ask you maybe to tell me in two industries, since you're combining them together. Let's start with music. So many years in music. What was your biggest realization or lesson after being a musician professionally for so many years? What did you learn yourself?
It has to be one, or can I say two? Because I think there's two that I took away, which I see they do combine. Like one's like the flip side of the other one, right? Okay. So one of the things is, is that I played rock music, and then now it's more dance music, but especially, I don't know, dance music may be the same, but I spent, a lot of time with different bands in rock music, and everybody.
Did you have longer hair?
I did have longer hair at one point. I did. So everybody's got an ego. Everybody wants to be a rock star. I'm the drummer. I want to be the rock star drummer. I'm the guitarist, the bass player, the keyboardist, the singer. Everybody wants to be a rock star, right? And so one of the things is we try to play louder and louder. I want to be louder. Turn your volume down. I can't hear myself play. And Grant, you're playing too loud. No, I'm not. You're playing too loud, right? So we all get these egos. So I think the flip side of that is that we have to listen to each other. And I think that, with now modern music, people have the in-ear monitors, and the monitor engineer can give a perfect mix for each individual person so that they get the right balance that's going to allow them to contribute the value to the ensemble or to the band, right? And I think that, taking that into the context within business and leaders, right? Leaders are successful. And they got
like rock stars.
They're like rock stars.
Everyone wants to be the loudest in the room.
And again, top leaders in top organizations, they are successful and they're proud of what they've done. What comes with that is an ego as well, too. But if they take a step back and realize, okay, well, everybody adds value, and we listen to each other, we balance the sounds of the different people within our team, and if you're the head of the organization, all the different teams within your function, or within the top person of the organization, all the functions within that. And if you balance all this together, you're going to create a symphony. You're going to create great music, right? So I think that's probably the key takeaways. Let go of your ego and listen to others, and we're going to then create synergy.
And symphony, I love that. The final question, which probably you know what I'm going to ask. Now about your other professional life.
Yeah.
Being a coach, speaker, trainer, right? Doing all of this for also so many years. Yeah. What was the biggest learning lesson there, working with all those people?
I think that with my background in psychology, that the way we can engage with people is very similar across different industries. Looking at the human side of being a leader. And it's about understanding what works for our people. And I talk about psychological needs that people have, the need for competence, the need for autonomy, the need for relatedness, the need for sureness and certainty, the need for fairness and equity. And I think that if people can satisfy these needs within the work that they do, And if leaders and companies can create an environment where people can satisfy these, then it's going to create sustained motivation for people and commitment and great high performance. It's going to help people get into flow. And flow is the state where we're completely focused on what we're doing to the point where slowing down is almost painful. And we're so productive. We're getting so much done. It seems like if things are going easy for us because we've got a clear goal, we got the commitment, we got the motivation to do that. So I think that that's probably one of the things that I've realized is that if we can, within whatever industry we're in, whatever function we're in, if we can help our team members to satisfy their psychological needs, then we're going to get high level of performance and commitment.
Thank you so much. That was Grand Upbeat Bosnick on Yana TV today. I learned so much, guys. I don't know about you. So I would love to hear from you actually in the comments. What was your favorite tip? What would you like to try? And of course, if you're one of the fellow musicians, do comment. Would love to connect and check out new music. And we are very grateful to Muse Studio for hosting Yana TV. And of course, remember, subscribe and share this episode. And I'm going to be seeing you next time. That's why drums are in the studio, by the way, right?
Yeah, it's not just a prop. I really do play.